Thank you, Madam Chair. I also have a few questions. Senator Jackson must have amendments that I don't have, so I just want a clarification myself. You used the term with no weapon or unarmed, and I didn't have that in my briefing, so I'm just curious, is there a distinction, or is any police shooting where someone is killed will be investigated?
Ms.
Thank you.
Assemblymember, do you want to answer that, or do you?
Sure. The prior version had a deadly force at the hands of law enforcement. A local entity, sheriff or law enforcement, would have to make the request to go to the AG/special prosecutor. Under this now, all unarmed would automatically get kicked up, per se, to this special prosecutor for the state of California.
Okay, thank you.
But non-individuals who were individuals that were armed, that would still be at the discretion of the local entity. The local DA, the police chief, the sheriff, or their governing body, board of supervisors, city council, would have the discretion to ask for the independent investigation at the state level.
Which has sort of been the model that we've had in place.
Yeah, that's current law, but as we heard from our witness, usually the Attorney General says no.
So then,
You could say the only difference between current practice and now is that the way the bill is written, if the entity requests, the investigation will occur. It's not optional.
but it also changes who requests. So right now you have a sheriff, 58, that are constitutional officers that are elected. So they're responsible to the voters to do what's best. And they would then give it to the elected district attorney, also a constitutional officer. And there's also the grand jury of each county that's available. And then it gets maybe pushed up to the attorney general. So the change is it now is required to go to the attorney general or whatever other model we select. So I am curious, in cities, the city manager or the city council, they select and control the police chief. So I can see why they would have authority to bring it to the attorney general. Counties, now you've got the interesting dilemma of an elected sheriff and an elected board of supervisors. And so there's just some issues there. I'm just wondering if counties should be exempted from your bill.
Well, in some areas of California, for example, Sacramento, in a large part of LA County, the sheriff, the county is the city. It's the governing body in these unincorporated areas where it's not like the city of Huntington Beach inside of Orange County or city of Elk Grove in Sacramento. They have large areas where, it's a little bit different. So I think that's the logic there.
And I'm just curious, since we are in the county of Sacramento, were you satisfied with the AG's investigation of the Stefan Clark incident?
I think it was extremely helpful. Some weren't pleased with the outcome. The last year's AB 392 will determine the justification of force in the future, whether it's okay or not okay as far as an appropriate use of deadly force. But having an independent umpire calling balls and strikes is extremely important, especially when it's so emotional in a community, like we've heard from Solano. And I'm sure your colleagues, Mr. Dodd and my colleague, Mr. Grayson, will tell you all about it. Our witness talked about it. They do not want the local district attorney or the local police department doing this investigation. They want this third-party independent piece. And so it is, in rare cases where there has been the request, it's come up and it has been helpful. But it's the exception, not the norm. And unfortunately, the Attorney General's office routinely says no to these requests. And so our process would set up and say, if the sheriff of Orange County or the police chief of Anaheim or the local government there asked for this independent investigation, the state prosecutor could not say no.
So I had the pleasure of setting up an Office of Independent Review when I was a county supervisor to deal with our sheriff, and you're working on AB 1185 in a similar vein. And so it's real interesting territory. It was sort of innovative. Actually came out of LA County, Mike Giannacco. So I'm curious, because I didn't have it or didn't see it, although Senator Mitchell's familiar with it, but what is this model in Connecticut that was just approved a week ago? Could you maybe just help me and maybe anybody that's watching that hasn't heard of that model, could you explain what that is?
Yeah, I don't know about the details of the evolving Connecticut one, but I do know that there are 5 states, and the principle is very clear. Either they take all of the deadly force incidents in those states, and granted, some of the states are smaller. Connecticut's probably the size of LA and Orange County combined. Wisconsin.
It's got 3.5 million.
Yeah,
just a little larger than Orange County.
State. But Illinois and New York and have this as well as New Jersey. And so different models, but the premise is the same. It says that the local district attorney has just a tough time being credible with these investigations because how they run for office, they get the POA endorsement, the sheriff endorsement. They're investigating someone that they knew and worked with. They're having them testify on the case tomorrow. So it just breeds distrust. And so I think that's why you've seen prosecutors across the nation saying, you know what, this one, there's a better way to go about doing this.
If I can add, the difference, well, in every state, an attorney general has the discretion to investigate a law enforcement agency. However, there are certain states that specify that X type of incidents, X types of shootings will be investigated. The variance is, in some states, it is the attorney general, and in others, it is a separately established entity. And the Connecticut law that just passed was they gave that authority to a to-be-established separate prosecuting entity, not to their attorney general. But it was only just passed.
But, so we don't really know whether it builds trust or is fair or independent, but it's something we should be looking at.
I can't recall right now, but there are a couple of other states that do have entities already that are not their attorney generals, but I don't have data on those.
Okay, I'll do a little more research. My last question, Madam Chair, is just costs. How are you going to make your case to Appropriations Committee?
Well, this is pursuant to being funded in next year's budget. We're engaging with the governor. He's extremely interested in this issue. We've been told that he likes the notion of having independent investigations for deadly force incidents in California, like these 5 other states have been doing. We're sorting that out. You know, this is the policy committee, and great debate today, and you know, we're still, you know, working out some of these issues, I readily admit. But we're confident that this is a priority in California. You know, if it's in the Attorney General's office, they have a big budget of $1 billion plus. You know, potentially this could be more of a priority within those 4,500 employees there, or that this could be a priority for our budget process next year. You know, I know we have limitations with the COVID-19 reality, but it's something that we're engaging with Department of Finance, and they are very interested in this proposal.
Senator Mitchell.
Just that say thank you.
Sorry,
Assembly
apologies,
Member
Senator
McCarty,
Moorlach.
and thank you, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, you can make it
I
to
just
me.
wanted to be,
No, please, if you have other, go ahead.
no, I have nothing else. I just wanted to say thank you, that's all.
Okay.
And I wanted to say happy birthday, too.
Thank you, thank you.